Hello, explorers, and welcome to episode 31. As always, as we head into the Christmas period, then I'm joined by cheeky elf known as Taylor from Canada,
Okay.
and a guy whose beard rivals that of Mr. Claus himself. It's Dewey.
Howdy.
I hope we're ready for plenty of Christmas puns on the show.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
So we'll start with you, Taylor. How's your week been?
It's been really good. It's been, nothing to complain about. It's been good.
Good, nice and steady. What about you, Jimmy?
Yeah.
It's good. Busy. It's always a hectic time of the year. You know, we're winding down for Christmas break, and kids, students, and parents are losing their minds because they're like, "Oh, I'm not passing your class," or "What can I do to pass your class?" And so it's just been hectic. But yeah, overall, family's good. Getting excited. I'm getting ready to take Molly and I are going to take the girls, our two exchange students, to New York City over Christmas break. So we're gearing up for that. So, and my bank account's gearing up for that as well. How about you, Jack? How's your week been?
Yeah, nice and steady. The weather's getting a bit rough here, snow and stuff like that. I've started to plough through Path of Vengeance. I think I've got about 4 hours left of it. I think. I'm just getting up to a certain bit now where the rods have just been being put together for the leveler. It's just demonstrating the power of the leveler. The mother is. But yeah, I'm starting to get back into the High Republic a bit more. Took my lad out shopping on Saturday to a place called Forbidden Planet, and it's got like loads of Star Wars stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we picked up a few things. I managed to pick up the Star Wars character encyclopedia, which is a massive help. If you like me, you always lose track of who's who and where they're from, etc., etc. But yeah, cool as always. Then we'll go straight into our Force encounters. Cool. After days, who wants to start us off then? Who's got what Force encounter?
I have one. Okay, so this week I don't know. I work at the zoo, so I'm always doing some weird like cleanup thing or whatever, or working in the gardens. And this week I was just putting some stuff away inside the train station, and I guess we have this like spot where we've been collecting like those fluorescent super long light bulbs. And they were kind of just all leaning up against like this wall in the corner, and it was like, whatever. And I didn't pay them any attention, and I slammed this door behind me, and it was like raining outside really bad, and I just thought, I'm gonna put my hood up now and my zipper up and get all like ready for the rain now before I step outside. And I throw my hood up, and the second I put my hood up, I hear this huge like explosion. It's just like bang, and it was like, it startled me so bad because I'm also listening to like the end of Midnight Horizon on audiobook, so I'm listening to a ton of war sounds already. And I turn around slowly, like, what the heck? And all these like little things were like like hitting my back, and I was like, what the hell? And I turned around, and I guess one of those fluorescent light bulbs had completely fallen, like one that was like 10 feet tall, like the super super long one fell, just exploded. And if I didn't have my like hood up, it would have all gone into like my hair, and I would have had glass explosion everywhere. So my Force encounter was that the Force told me to put my hood up on my rain jacket to protect myself from the falling light bulb. Yeah, the little things. I cannot believe how loud it was. It was like my eardrums literally popped. Like, I was like, what the hell?
Would you have headphones in as well then?
I had one headphone in on one side, and my left side that didn't have the headphone popped harder than my right ear. So, yeah, I really had no idea that they would explode that bad. And when you're not expecting it, it's a little bit scary.
Oh yeah. What about you, Jimmy? What have you got?
Yeah, I had Monday we had our first swim meet, and my athletic director calls me. He's like, "Hey, come up to my office before you guys leave." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I don't know. I thought maybe I was in trouble for something I'd done or whatever. Whoever knows? I say a lot of things. Sometimes they come back to get me. But I walk in there, and he has this box, and he hands it to me, and it's I don't know if you guys remember this. It was like 4 or 5 years ago. It came out. It was called Jedi Challenge. It's like a VR
Yes.
experience, and you have a lightsaber. I remember him
Yeah.
playing it. He was going to have me come over and play it. He's like, "Hey, we haven't used this in like 4 years, so here, take it." And just
Oh.
handed it to me. And talking to some people online, they think that the app is done, like it doesn't really like work anymore. But
Oh.
the lightsaber in it is really, really nice looking. So that was pretty cool. So I'm gonna mess with that when I get a chance. And then we have this place called Ollie's, and it's like this warehouse, like I don't know, secondhand store kind of thing. Well, but it's toys, but like the cards are like for a Steeler or Star Wars fans, like the boxes are banged up and things like that. And I got a
Yeah.
Mhm.
Chewbacca figure for my group thing, and I got another Ahsoka, 3 3/4. So that was pretty fun. And then the guy who checked me out was like, "Oh, Star Wars fan." I was like, "Yeah." So we started chatting and ended up getting him some stickers. So hopefully he's listening. And but yeah, so it was kind of fun, just kind of getting some things for the collection. But what about you, Jack?
Nothing from me this week. I haven't really got a force encounter, unfortunately. Just been go, like I said, with work and stuff like that, and just getting through Path of Vengeance and yeah, reading the encyclopedia.
Mine comes in 3 days.
Yeah, Tuesday for me.
Yeah, Jim's
Yeah.
got a whole
So
load of stuff
whenever
coming.
so whenever this airs, yeah, I'll finally get that. So I'm excited to dive into that.
Yeah. I just got to I'm on chapter 9 of the Eye of Darkness. Jeez. So, and it's like really good so far.
Nice, happy days. Okay, so let's head over to Batu and we'll have a look and listen at what news is coming out of there then. Okay, rumours are going about that the Skeleton Crew will not be released until after Halloween next year, so potentially another year's worth of wait for that.
Ah.
Yeah. And Mando Season 4 filming starts early 2024 and releases 2025. So what have we actually got coming? Next year should hopefully see the release of The Acolyte. Can't wait for that one. Skeleton Crew, the final season of The Bad Batch, and another season of Tales of the Jedi. Now again, this is all down to the strikes. The Actors Guild, the Writers Guild, has had a massive knock-on effect. The only one we haven't mentioned is Andor Season 2. Again, I've seen but no confirmation of that. It could be as well 2025. We did mention it last week. Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? I'd still personally be happy with Acolyte, Skeleton Crew, Bad Batch, and Tales of the Jedi. I think that's enough Star Wars for a year for me because I know we've got the news and reveals of the new Star Wars films coming, but also we've got, I think, Celebration next year in Japan.
No, it was
Yes.
2025, wasn't it?
Is it
Yeah,
2025?
2025 in Japan.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, so they'll be gearing up a lot of trailers, I guess, and stuff ready for that. What's your thoughts on the Skeleton Crew, Jimmy?
disappointed. This show seems like it's just can't get going. I know, we all assumed that we were getting it prior to Christmas this year and all that, and then
Yeah.
it's getting pushed. And I want to see this show. I want to,
Yeah.
especially with some of the rumors that are flying around with it, and the idea of it, being like they keep calling it an Amblin. And people who don't know what that means, it's like E.T. and the Goonies, like it's the company that made those. So it's like a kid's adventure with some adults in it, but it sounds fun. It sounds different. I like Jude Law, so I was kind of excited for this. And then with the tie-ins of the rumor tie-ins of it, connecting to the Mandoverse in different ways, I'm excited for it. I am disappointed that we're not getting it sooner, but it is what it is. I mean, I'll just take it as it comes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Something's still telling me it's not going to come at all. I don't know what it is. I've just got it in my head that it's going to get cancelled or chucked out the window. And the only thing is, as well, with having kids and stuff like this, is if there's going to be a season 2, like with sort of Harry Potter, it's probably the best I've seen is the kids get older in real life.
Yeah.
Um,
They hit
but
that
Yeah, they're gonna
growing
have to be
factor.
careful with it.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because what they've they'll be like 2 years, and for kids their age, they will
Yeah.
change a ton
They're gonna grow a
Yeah.
bunch.
over that time
Yeah.
period. Yes, I don't know, maybe. And I mean, if they do it, they're going to have to, if there's a second season of it or whatever, they're going to have a turnaround on it, which, that could be done. They could already have the second season planned or whatever and turn
Yeah.
around on it and film it. You know, Hollywood just needs to get back on track, and Disney Plus needs to get back on track. But
Yeah.
I imagine there's enough future projects that they don't need to stall on anything, for 2020. Because, I mean, it sounds like even if it isn't until January, I mean, what, 3 shows? If it's The Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, Bad Batch, and Tales of the Jedi over the next year, which is only a month, less than a month away now, that's not bad. That's a lot of Star Wars.
That's a lot.
You could piggyback off. I mean, you go week to week and fill up almost the whole year with that. I'd be
Yeah.
all right with it. So
Yeah.
then we get Mando season 4, and we get Andor season 2 in 2025. Go to Japan. They've announced the movies. We see our first trailer for
Yeah.
the Rey movie, and all mass hysteria and Star Wars is back, baby.
And there you go.
For another
There's a
few
Star Wars
months.
roadmap by Jimmy Adams for 2024 and 2025. Put your bets on now. Let's see it. Cool. What
We'll
news have you
see.
got, Taylor?
We've got Adam Driver, Kylo Ren in the sequel trilogy, has revealed that the scene he still can't live down 8 years after Star Wars. The Force Awakens was released in cinemas after Wallace asked if he was being serious. Driver responded, "Not every day, but yeah, it used to be more, but now it's probably once a month. Someone will let me know that I killed Han Solo." Right, he is the one who just killed him. Though Solo's death left fans divided, it helped establish Kylo Ren's place in the Star Wars sequels as he battled between the light and the dark sides of the Force. Driver went on to recall that it was like filming the scene with Ford, which went on to recall what it was like filming the scene with Ford, which wasn't necessarily tough, but very emotional, actually. You know what's so funny? This should actually be my Force encounter. Me and my husband just randomly decided to start watching The Rise of Skywalker, and like this scene just like came on the same day that this article came out. Like I didn't plan it on intentionally. It's just so random. So yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
I
nice.
have, he's talking about this ever since The Force Awakens has come out. People have been bombarding him with, that was the big story. It was like, oh, people are not harassing him, but you killed Han Solo, blah, 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 blah. And
Own
what's
it.
funny, and an anecdote for this is my ex-wife was actually worked with Harrison Ford, right? So he comes into Wichita for his pilot training, and she was his CSR. And I remember we were there watching The Force Awakens, and she's like bawling. I'm like, you knew he was going to die. Like, I mean, and then a couple months later, Harrison's in Wichita, and she's like, I was so sad. And he's like, why? I'm right here. He's just kind of just the way he is. But yeah. And then I think, so yeah, I think this really sets up, I never thought anything. I mean, did you guys expect Solo to live through the trilogy?
No.
I didn't.
No, I
I
think
did.
it was pretty
You did?
obvious. I don't know.
I didn't expect him to die in Force Awakens because I knew he didn't want to do Return of the Jedi. But I wasn't expecting him to go like he did in Force Awakens.
Oh man, as soon as they got close to each other, I'm like, well, this is how it ends. But I do think that the payoff in The Rise of Skywalker was pretty. I mean, because that's a pretty powerful scene whenever you hear, "Hey, kid,"
Yeah.
and he turns
Yeah.
around and you're like, "Holy crap!" Like for some reason, when I heard "Hey, kid," I thought it was Luke Skywalker, like showing up as a Force ghost.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like
It
like
didn't
Harrison
sound
Ford.
like
It actually
Harrison,
sounds like yeah.
and I was like, "Oh crap!" And then he turns around and Harrison Ford standing there, and I was like, "What?"
Double
And
crap.
that was just that was an amazing scene. So I think the payoff for it was pretty good. And someone said that Harrison Ford came back for that scene because of how much he liked working with Adam Driver, and that was like his deciding
Yeah.
factor in it. So that's pretty cool. And props to Adam Driver. And we all know he's a good actor. So, but yeah, that's nuts.
I just watched the scene, and like it's so good. And I don't know, I think about like, oh, the sequels, but then when I was actually watching it, I'm like leaning forward, getting right into it, huge smile on my face. Like, I don't know, it has its flaws, all of the sequel movies do, but this one it was just actually so good, and I'm like really enjoying it. I have to watch it in like 3 different chunks because I can't stay awake the whole time because I'm old. But like Leia has just died, right? And Ray has just stabbed him, and he's like, and then brought him back to life. Like, oops, sorry. Like, I won, but hey, sorry, you're alive still, right? Like, and then he's just thinking like, what just all happened? And then of course Han Solo is also there. It's just so emotional. It's like, Dad. It's like, I know, and he just whips the lightsaber. Like, yes. He's like, yes. So good. Sorry.
No, that's good. We got the final season of The Bad Batch is coming in 2024, bringing to the close the saga of Clone Force 99. Executive producer and head writer Jennifer Corbett tweeted that the final mix session for the final season has been completed, meaning not too long wait for a release date. So yeah, it sounds like they've got all of the voices and everything, sounds and sound effects, everything added to it. So it's probably ready to, I'm not sure exactly how that all works, but I'm assuming they go through it, they watch it again with fresh eyes. Because I mean, I don't know if you guys ever worked on something. I do it sometimes when I'm editing this podcast. Like if you do it over and over and over again, you kind of miss things or something that's blatant. So I wonder if they bring in a fresh set of eyes to look at something, or Dave takes a look at it for the first time, being the new, chief officer, creative officer. But that's exciting. I really like that. I know we're gonna get into it when we release it. I'm not sure we'll do like review shows for it or anything. But do you think? Spoiler alert. Do you think that they will keep Tech where he is? That's all I'm not gonna say. Because there's rumors that it's not. He's gonna come. He's gonna be. It's gonna be different than how it ended.
No, I think they're all gonna die a miserable death. Unfortunately,
we know that Dave Filoni likes to trick us, so he's gonna make it seem like it's blatantly obvious what's gonna happen, and then last minute it's gonna be like, "Bam! You didn't guess it," and we're just gonna be like, "Oh."
I think they'll all die. I'd be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Omega survived and she appeared somewhere.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Jimmy?
I think so too. I kind of think that I thought they were going to die off, quicker. To be honest, like I thought they would, because they're nowhere in canon, and I know that we say all of us, everyone who's in, doing Star Wars podcasts and YouTube channels and stuff, we always, it's not in canon. Like I mean, Johnny and I talked today about We Have Spoken, like that's canon now. It never was before Mando, but now it's like it's finding its place in, like you'll see in the Eye of Darkness and everything like that. But they can write stuff into canon, but I don't know where they would fit in canon. I guess is the difference. Like something that major, like having a group of guys that can do what they do in canon and not being around, and given the fact that they like to help, I think they all end up meeting the sacrificing for Omega in the end, and I do think she shows up live action later on somewhere.
Oh, that'd be so cool. Speaking of Omega, I have the Star Wars Lego Advent calendar for Christmas, and the very first the first day was Omega riding a sled. Or like a sleigh.
Very cool.
Get the pictures up.
I will. I was so bad I didn't do the first one, so I think I'm gonna do like 3 at a time. So it gives people a chance to open them themselves if they if they have the same one. So it's pretty fun.
For the free calendar. Cool, happy days. That ties up the news then for this week. Not a fat lot going on. And we're going to move on now to the main show. Cool, happy days. So what we're going to go into now then, okay, is our Christmas show. Because it's Christmas, we've got, we've unwrapped our top 5 Star Wars gifts, pun intended. So really, this is more of a shout out, not just to the explorers, but to Christy, Molly, and obviously Mr. Holland. So if you're listening,
Billy.
get your notebooks, get your pens. Okay, what you're going to hear now then is our top 5 Christmas gifts that we've been researching. We'll start off with number 5. Okay, starting straight off then, I'll jump straight in there. Something I think would be an ideal present for any Star Wars fan is clearly the Eye of Darkness. Phase 3, always jump in there. Nice and affordable as well. Eye of Darkness for me. What about you, Taylor? What have you got?
It's a huge book, by the way. My number 5 is like actually a realistic gift that I am fully expecting you to get me for Christmas, Billy, because I have only left it open on my phone like 3 times, and I have messaged him about it twice. So it is actually. It's a 12-color laser combat sword. It's a heavy dueling with 6 different sound effects. And it is a lightsaber that is gold and silver. And it's just so High Republic looking. I'll show you guys the picture of it. It's beautiful. And it looks like it would be super smooth, like in my hand. Like I don't think I would get a bunch of blisters like I do with the Skywalker Legacy saber. That saber will give you blisters for days if you're playing around with it. So, fair warning. But here's the kicker. I want this saber, but I want 2 of them so that I can connect them and have a double-bladed High Republic theme lightsaber.
Oh,
I've only been doing I've only been doing like staff spinning for like 2 years getting ready for this, so it's happening this year.
Nice.
That's my number 5 in
What
this
have you got,
thing,
Jimmy?
but it's my number 1.
I'm gonna go from growing up. I didn't have a ton of Star Wars toys, but I had the T-47 Snowspeeder.
Yeah.
And of course, as a kid, I didn't take great care of it or whatever. It's in pieces. I would kill to get an original. Yeah, I'd kill to get an original T-47 Snowspeeder from, the Empire Strikes Back toy line from, 1980s. I think that would be awesome to have that, and just the nostalgia for me would be off the charts as far as that. It was a gift I remember as a kid getting for Christmas,
Yes.
and it was kind of fun to see them in Kenobi. So a little weird, but it was kind of cool to see those in there. And of course, Hoth being my favorite battle scene. Can't go wrong with the T-47.
That's my daughter's favorite Star Wars scene too. Is literally the Hoth battle scene. My daughter's 4.
Oh my gosh. Hey, and she'll never grow out of it if she's smart. So
good.
Nice,
you, Jack. Oh,
so
no.
yeah,
Okay.
coming in at number 4 for me then, it's gonna have to be one of the sideshow collectible figures. Again, these range from, I'm gonna say quite cheap, but it's not. So I would say from expensive to very expensive to extraordinarily expensive. Pretty much any of the bounty hunters would fit nicely in a cabinet that I've got at home. Top of the range quality collectibles. I have actually ordered a Darth Vader collector's edition one. It should be coming in July. So yeah, for me, number 4 for me would be a sideshow collectible.
Dang. Yeah, those things are pricey.
Yeah, very pricey. What have you got at number 4, Tay?
My number 4 would actually be a Star Wars themed photo shoot. Right? Like with your cool cosplay, you could have your lightsaber, you could have like blasters, you could be like whatever you wanted to. And I'm thinking, I don't know, like in like the mountains or something. Like, how people post those super cool cosplay photos? Like, did this photo shoot on the weekend? It's like, okay, I need that because that would be so fun. And I want like unlimited costume changes and unlimited coffee to keep me going. And I'm talking to you, Josh Banta, who listens to the show, and he's the zoo photographer. So, plus more. Yeah, that would be so fun, right?
That would be
unlimited
cool.
shots.
Yeah. I did, when we drove to California for Celebration in 2022, we stopped at the Joshua Tree National Park. It's basically where they filmed Kenobi on that one planet. and we did some photo shoots of myself with my Kenobi gear on, which is pretty cool because it's just such a unique background. But yeah, it's fun, Taylor. You should. I hope you get that.
That's so fun.
Number 4 for
It's so
me.
fun, right?
Anyone who knows, I collect Funkos. Obviously, I have a problem. I was up over 500, and then I got to the point where I was like, well, I'm gonna have to start collecting things that I want specifically. So I've kind of narrowed it down to like Ahsoka and Kenobi and Chewie, and of course, like I just pre-ordered Balin and Shin for
Yeah,
January. But I would go with number 4 would be the glow in the dark Obi-Wan Kenobi, which was gonna be a Star Wars Celebration Anaheim exclusive, and then COVID happened, and they did a lottery, and it was impossible to get into it. And like I had multiple people trying to help me out getting it, but that was the only Kenobi I'm missing as of right now, and that would complete that
oh,
collection. I'd have all the Kenobis, but that thing ranges at $1,000. And when I was in line to get Ewan McGregor's signature on the Kenobi, the guy in front of me, he was from Australia. He was super nice. It was awesome talking to him. That box, that Funko is worth like $900 to $1,000 USD. And the guys that they had working for him slammed it down on the table, and I was like, like that thing's worth $1,000, man. Like, chill out,
oh,
So I felt bad for that guy because he was about to have a heart attack the way they were just kind of like smashing it around and stuff.
oh
Oof.
my
But
gosh!
that'd be my number. That'd be my number 4.
Wow,
Nice.
nice.
Okay, coming in at a slow pace for me. My number 3, again, keeping with the tradition now, is going to be the AT-AT Walker model from Lego Star Wars.
Ooh.
That thing is huge. And so
Oh,
the price, it was originally around about 750 odd quid. It's down to about 660 now. Again, super, super expensive, but the detail in it is absolutely amazing. There's
oh
lots
my
of
gosh.
things that come out. You've got all the figures that come with it. It would take a while for someone to build. Definitely keep me busy and quiet, so that's a bit of a positive thing for Christy. But yeah, the AT-AT Walker model for me from Lego Star Wars is my number 3.
Oh,
Oh my
that's a good
gosh,
one.
that's awesome. My husband was actually saying, he's like, you know what? I would hate to build a giant Lego Star Wars thing with you because you are so slow at them. And I was just like, thanks. Because I'm trying to build them with the advent calendar, and I am sorry, but I am very slow at building them. God, that's why you're the Lego guy, Jimmy.
I did build some Legos this afternoon, so getting some things put back
Awesome.
together.
I
Nice.
just can't do it.
What have we got number 3, Tay?
My number 3 would be a. So I don't know if I would want the 3D printer to be able to print a full Mandalorian armor cosplay, or if I would just want the full
Ooh.
Mandalorian armor cosplay. One of those two. But I would totally want to like paint it myself, like the color, and you know how they have like the little voice thing inside of them so that they can talk to each other,
Yep.
and like the fan so that you're not like dying of heat in the summer. So that would be super sick, and with like double blasters, like oh, so fun, so fun.
Yeah, I would go with just getting it gifted to you. Having printed stuff on 3D printer, it is a pain to bondo and sand, and my
Yeah.
Is
gosh,
it just?
I'm not.
Ugh.
Yeah, I mean it's fun if you have the time, but
Yeah.
I mean you gotta. I mean it's
Hard
like you
work.
have to set. Yeah, it's a lot. I mean I'm sure it's super rewarding and people do it and they make a living off of it, but
Yeah.
my goodness, just having it gifted to you that you could paint it, I think would be a way to go. But I
Yeah.
mean again,
Right.
it is
And
rewarding to build your own stuff, but man,
yeah,
3D printers
imagine,
like
and you could
mine's.
just repaint it every few years. Like, oh.
I can see my 3D printer sitting on the ground over here collecting dust because it's made me angry so many times. I just kind of have had it with it.
It's too
So,
complicated. I feel like I wouldn't be able to do it with my brain.
nah, they're not that bad. So, just,
No.
well, no, especially the new
Mm.
ones.
What have you got number
Um,
Right.
3,
my,
Jimmy?
this is going to shock everybody that listens. I
Oh God.
want a replica of Balin Skull's lightsaber.
Of course you do. Of
Oh,
course
oh
you do.
man.
I'd like the good one. I've
Oh.
actually started looking at different companies and things like that. They haven't. there's companies that they can't like name it the Balin, or whatever because of
Yeah, but
rights
it
and things like
is.
that. But I haven't seen anything I like so far. Maybe that's a good reason to get my 3D printer up and going. Who knows? I do have a Kenobi
Yeah.
one built that way. But yeah, I think that would be ideal. Get that Black Series figure in February. Get the Funko in January, and then have the actual lightsaber sitting there. Would be pretty sweet, I think. So that's my number
Awesome.
3.
Oh, and then it would
Nice.
just be a piece to your cosplay as well.
Yeah, I got to start working on that. So
Yeah.
Cool, right. Coming in hot then for my number 2 again, sticking with the Lego theme, is the Lego Star Wars Millennium Falcon. The set was
Oh,
again about £750. At the minute, it's on a massive reduction of 480, and I'm
Black Friday
literally
sales.
in balance of
whoa,
going for it or not going for it because
dude.
this thing is going to stop selling in the middle of 2024. So the value of it, the reckon, is going to skyrocket.
Oh
Um,
my god.
but
Even just
with
buy it as an investment.
this is the thing, because if it's going to be an investment, then I'd leave it in the box and not build it. But the child in
Oh.
me would not leave it in the box. I definitely would build it.
First
And if
day.
I do build it, the size of the thing, I literally have nowhere in the house to put it. So if I did put it somewhere in the house without the space, it'd break. So at the minute,
Uh,
I'm leaning towards no.
uh,
But yeah, my number
is that
2 is
like
the
the
Lego
big
Star Wars Falcon.
is
So the
that the big one that
UCS
you
one.
always see in like the TikToks where people are like smashing them and stuff?
Yeah,
That's oh,
It's the
very nice.
largest. It's the largest Lego build, like UCS.
yeah.
Well, it was. I don't know if the Venator is beating it or not, but it has the most
Oh,
pieces. It's like
It's, yeah,
7,000 pieces or something like that. It's insane.
yeah. What have you got, Taylor, at number 2?
my number 2 is going to be the R2D2 replica from the BC Droid Builders Club. Um, I've actually talked to Andrew from the BC Droid Builders Club about it on the show before, about this droid. And I would like it with like the remote control and like the drink stand that they have with it. It's so awesome. The droid actually belongs to Nick Harrison, but Nick and Andrew have worked on it together. And they've built this thing from scratch. And this is like a 4 foot tall, moving, glowing, beeping, talking, rotating droid. Sorry, like 3 foot 7 inches, because they
Yeah.
have to be exactly perfect, right? So I know you guys love that droid, and you bring it to Fan Expo and everything that you can possibly bring R2 to. But I am going to have him for Christmas one year.
I'm
Mine.
sure. I'm sure they'll part ways with that. What have you got, Jimmy, at number 2?
We're gonna go back to the Funkos, and we're gonna go to the Hall H Blue Ahsoka from the last San Diego Comic Con. I have
Ooh,
seen very few of these things on the market. Their price range is astronomical. It's just a blue Ahsoka, um,
the crystal
and
theme one, right? Is that
yeah,
it?
I think so. But it's almost impossible to get unless you've got quite the paycheck or the wallet,
Deep
to pay for it.
wallets.
But that would also complete. I mean, I'm looking over here and I have all the Ahsoka Funkos. I got one signed by Ashley. I'll need to get one signed by Rosario eventually, but um,
Oh,
and so I think that would complete that collection, and it'd be awesome to have that and complete it. And that's something that I'd love to have. So
Sick. Nice.
yeah.
Okay, so my top one, again, I've sort of got 2. A bit of a cheap one. But I would love a tour around Rancho's Star Wars tour.
oh,
Yeah,
Rancho
Rancho
Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan.
Yeah, I'd absolutely love to visit that. But the only thing that could trump that would obviously be a visit on business class to Florida to go around Star Wars World again on my own, child free, wife free, uh,
Oh
in
god.
my cosplay, dressed up, running around, causing
that would
absolute
be
chaos.
sweet.
So yeah, for me, it'd have to be tickets to go to Florida. What about you, Tay?
That'd be
What's
all
your number
right.
1?
You're gonna laugh, but my number 1 is also a trip to Disney World, Florida.
There we go.
But yeah, I want like the World Hopper Plus tickets, and I want the Disney
things,
hotel, and it has to be like 2 weeks minimum.
Oh my
And
gosh.
the hotel's got to have a hot tub.
Jeez.
That's my number one.
What
That's so
about you,
funny.
Jimmy?
Come on, Jimmy, don't let us down.
Well, I've been to Galaxy's Edge and I've been to Disney like a bunch of times, so those are good ones.
Yeah.
We were planning a trip to Rancho Obi-Wan before Celebration when it was originally supposed to come out in Anaheim, but of course COVID shut everything down, so that failed. But I have been kicking around the idea of buying this this item, and I got to go ahead and I didn't pull a trigger because it's so much money for something. But my number one is the UCS Millennium Falcon Lego set.
Got to do that, Jimmy.
I love this thing. And you talked about the size of it and the cost point. Molly and I, we build a lot of stuff. We do a lot of like furniture and shelving and just different things, all kinds of odds and ends and dog crates and dog beds. And we saw someone built a coffee table, put sand in it, put that down in there, put some figures around it, and then put a glass top on it. And Molly said, if I ever do decide to buy it, that's what we will build, and that's where we'll display it. Will be in the center of the living room. So that would be my number one. Like I said, I've come close a couple times, but my goodness, here in the States, it's about $800 to $850 to buy it, and just I don't know. I can't. I don't know if I could stomach spending that much money on a Lego set. I don't.
Oh my goodness. You got the go-ahead to buy it, and you didn't, and you haven't yet?
Yeah, no,
That's
and
like
I
the
thought about
dark
doing
side pulling at you.
Well, I was going to do it this year because we got these things through school, but then we end up using all that money for our trip to New York with the girls. So I had planned on doing it this year in November, and then I kind of got sidetracked. Being a parent sucks.
Yeah.
It's hard to be selfish when you're a parent. I don't know how you guys do it.
I
I usually get
know.
whatever I want. I get whatever I want usually, and I don't like it. So, but yeah, that's my number one. So,
Oh my god,
oh my
that's
goodness,
so
Nice.
funny.
Okay, that pretty much that wraps up the main show for today. What we're going to do now then is head over to our little book club where Jimmy is going to be chatting to a special member of the show.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Explore the Force. Today we got a special guest, Johnny O, or the Starbirdfiles. How are you doing today, Johnny?
Good, thank you. Great to be here as
All
usual.
right. Good. Yeah, so I think people probably know at this point if Johnny's on the show, it's probably something to do with the High Republic. He's our Joe Costa new of the High Republic here in the Star Wars universe. So everything's going well for you, Johnny. Holiday season started off okay.
Yeah, it's going. We've been
Did you
putting
guys
out decorations up this weekend and stuff. So,
if Johnny, does do you and Deborah celebrate Thanksgiving over there?
we usually do. We didn't really this year. I asked Deborah if she wanted to do something for her, and she said no, she can't be bothered this year. So we didn't this year. But we usually do. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it is. It is quite a bit of work sometimes. So.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, so Johnny's here today. I know we've talked about this a little bit when we recapped Phase 2 of the High Republic, and we kind of put this book on the calendars to discuss The Eye of Darkness by George Mann, the official kickoff of Phase 3. Even though we had a few comics come out prior to it, and Tales of Light and Life kind of had some characters. But this is the start of Phase 3. Johnny, what are your overall thoughts, of this book, I guess, and how it jumpstarts Phase 3 of the High Republic?
Yeah, it does that well. I think I really enjoyed it. Well, I didn't dislike Phase 2, I'm really happy to be back with these characters that we knew from Phase 1. And I thought George Mann does a really great job of writing the characters that we know so well when, he didn't join the project until Phase 2. So, I thought he did a great job of carrying that on. And, it picks up, a year after? I think it's around about, it's the anniversary, isn't it? It's a big kind of thing in the book. So it's a year after the fall of Starlight Beacon. And, it's interesting where it goes with it.
Yeah, I think so too. For people who don't know, George Mann, like Johnny just said, he joined in Phase 2. He wrote Battle for Jeddah, which was an audiobook first, audio drama, which I really enjoyed that. And now you can buy a hard copy of it. He wrote the young adult, or the children's book, Quest for the Hidden City, which I thought was okay. And then he also did a 4-run High Republic Adventures series comics that mostly dealt with the Nameless and Planet X. Well, the repercussions of Planet X, I guess. So going into this, Johnny, and knowing his background from Phase 2, like you said, Phase 2 was fine. Were you excited that he was the one starting the book? Like it wasn't Charles Soule, it wasn't Cavan Scott, it wasn't
it was
Justina Ireland.
Yeah, it was kind of surprising it wasn't one of the original 5. So I was a bit surprised that it was George Mann, when they announced it back at Celebration. And but he did a great job, I thought, because obviously all these characters in this book have been created by the original 5 back in Phase 1, and then so we know them all pretty well by now. And he did a great job of continuing on and making them feel like the same characters. Just they've been through some stuff since then, with the fall of Starlight Beacon and everything that's gone on kind of in the year in between. So
absolutely. I was, again too, I was surprised going through his, not mad about it or anything like that. I did think it was weird that it wasn't one of the big, the starters, but I'm sure they're probably going to cap it off or however. But that shows a lot of confidence in him, I think, to let him start off this final phase of something. For us, I know you and I, and it's hard for me to judge how many people outside of hardcore fandom of Star Wars are reading these books. I've heard a lot of people say, well, I've tried to read it and I couldn't because there was too many Jedi. Or I was talking with someone on Facebook today that said, I read Path of Vengeance or Path of Deceit, didn't like it and quit. And so I wonder if this is pulling in new Star Wars fans or not, because I know sometimes it's hard because I know Johnny. Johnny's been Celebration. I've been Celebrations. We are obviously hardcore fans. So I'm kind of curious as to I'd like to find someone who is just a reader of stories and what they feel of the High Republic. But anyways, we'll jump into this. And I don't have a script or anything, so we're just going to kind of freehand this the best we can. But it kind of starts off, and we'll just have some ideas, and this is full spoilers moving from this point on. I don't know if we can really talk about this book without it being spoilers to give away anything. But all right, so first thing, Avar Krish, she's back, the hero of Hetzal. And I felt, like you said, George wrote this character like he had created her himself, separated from the Jedi. This made me think, as the book goes on, she's suffering quite a bit. And it really made me think about Obi-Wan Kenobi for some reason and his journey and everything he lost in the prequels and then throughout. And I just thought maybe we could start there with Avar, talk about her journey through the book, and then we can kind of, and her new friends that she meets along the way. But what were your thoughts on Avar and her journey in this book?
Yeah, well, when you put it like that, it seems kind of obvious, really. I guess it's for all the Jedi that are stuck behind the storm wall within what is now Nihil territory. It is kind of like they're the Jedi Order post Order 66. Being hunted, etc. Ava. She's trying to survive, trying to do good kind of thing, and feels like she's not doing enough. Feeling kind of cut off and lonely, I guess. And I think what it does throughout the book, I thought was kind of you keep on getting these little bits of hope as they maybe discover things and that, and you kind of think, oh, it's so we're finding some ways of fighting back against the Nihil, but as the book goes on, each of those bits of hope kind of gets snuffed out again. It's like,
Yes.
okay, it's not going to be, a straight ride from, the fall of Starlight Beacon now begins kind of like the fight back. It's like the fall of Starlight wasn't necessarily the darkest hour. I think this book is the darkest hour of the whole thing. Because everything they try, whether it's Avar Crisp and Porter Engel behind the storm wall, or the people the other side of the storm wall, the Jedi Order and the Republic, everything they try kind of fails. Every idea you think, okay, this is it. This is how they start to figure it out. Kind of, there's an answer from the Nihil or Marchion Road kind of thing. And I think I felt like there's a moment later on in the book where Marchion Row expands the storm wall further and more planets become part of it.
Oh my gosh, that
really felt huge, and kind of like that was like the darkest, the hardest moment for everybody, because everything they tried and it still didn't work, and it got worse.
Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of weird that it wasn't as, when you read Fallen Star, that devastation, the fall of Starlight Beacon, that's like this physical, everything crashes. And obviously Fallen Star had, a double meaning with Jedi and with the Starlight Beacon in itself. But yeah, the expansion of the storm wall was eerie. I think, like, I could see this like in a movie where it's just like taking over. Like, I really want to see this. I want to see these stories on either animation or in a movie.
Yeah.
Just these planets being sucked into the storm wall. For people who haven't read this or haven't read it yet, Marchion Row has created this wall, this invisible wall around, well, like Johnny said, Nihil territory, and nobody can get through it. You can't get through it unless you have the passcodes, and if you do get through it, somehow you get destroyed. If you try to go light speed through it, you can't get through it. He's basically just built a giant, it's like the Berlin Wall, but there's no way to get through it whatsoever.
Yeah.
But yeah, John, that's a good point, because every time they did something, and I know you and I talked a little bit before we finished it, and you're like, this went a different direction than I thought. So I kept waiting for something. I kept waiting. And then I kind of realized, like, because I thought, here it comes. Here comes Elzar. They're going to bust through this thing, and we're going to start the Nihil running. And it's just the exact opposite of that move. And it's just like Marchion, however you want to say it. Just, he's a bad dude. And that's a really good point.
Yeah.
And so, Avar, she meets another Ugnaught. I cannot. Do you remember his name? It's like Beal or Balin, I think. And I was excited to see that. Yeah, Balin. I was excited to see that. I have spoken. It was not just a Kuil thing. It's a Ugnaught quote.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was pretty fun to see that.
Yeah, he drops
pretty fun character.
Just all over the place, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah,
it was great. I really enjoyed it.
It was kind of fun to have that. Did you know? I don't know about you, but did you know that I have spoken was like? This is like an Ugnaught thing now. We haven't gotten a lot of Ugnaughts in.
No.
And so.
Yeah, they. What was it? It was in The Mandalorian, I think. The Mando uses it. He goes in. Was it in the third season? He goes in a room where there's a bunch of Ugnaughts, and he uses it.
Yeah.
Because of that, they kind of respect him and listen to what he has to say. So they're definitely making it a thing now, the Ugnaughts
That's
also.
pretty fun. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, what did you think? One of the things too, like with Avar and with all the Jedi in this time period, they all have a different way to connect with the Force, and obviously Avar's is through song. Like she hears it as a song,
Mm-hmm.
and it's being just it's disconnected. She feels disconnected from the Force.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the way the Jedi see the Force and things like that? Do you like that? I mean, I enjoy it personally, but I don't know how everyone else thinks about it.
Yeah, it's something I've loved throughout the High Republic, just how all the different Jedi see the Force, and so obviously with Avar here, and like you said, she feels disconnected to it, or when she tries to connect to the Force, it feels like like discordant rather than the song that she heard before, kind of thing. And I think but towards the end, well, when like you said, it's full spoilers. So when she escapes at the end and is like reunited with the Jedi and with Elzar, it's not fixed, but she finds it easier, and it sounds more like the song to her, kind of thing. Although it's still not right, kind of thing.
Now, do you think,
which is interesting?
Do you think that's more? Yeah. Do you think it's more like being so close to the Nameless, being stuck behind that wall? Like I don't know how that storm wall would really affect the Force, or just her connection with the other Jedi. Because something we'll talk about here in a little bit towards the end is like the ending of this book, because I think some shenanigans are going to ensue between her and Elzar. But what do you think? What do you think's distorting that her connection to the Force?
Yeah, I'm not really sure 100% what's causing it. I think it's probably a combination of everything, being behind the storm wall and separated from everybody else, and just probably her own emotions as well, just being so far from everything else, and just like unsure of what she's able to do where she is. Obviously, it's difficult. There are people out hunting for Jedi, so she can't kind of reveal herself, and to travel from one place to another is difficult because they've got these droids called scav droids, which are kind of like I guess the little droids we see at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith, is it? Where they're attacking the starships.
Right?
The buzz droids, yeah. They're kind of like those, I think.
Yeah.
More destructive,
I imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's all of the above. I mean, even what was it? We also have Porter Engel stuck behind the stone wall as well, and he's kind of in a similar boat, and he's way older and more experienced than Avar, and I think even he finds himself a task to keep himself busy, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But even he kind of feels, is what I'm doing anything, kind of thing, because there's no way of knowing. They can't communicate. They can't go it's difficult to go places, etc. So yeah, maybe just separation from Elzar as well. It seems like I think this book really, because they are so separated now, that her Elzar and obviously Stellan's passed away, so that like their connection that those three all had together, I think maybe just because of Stellan's passed away and those two are separated on either sides of the storm wall, maybe that's affecting it too. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, Elzar I really loved in this book as well. I really enjoyed his character in this book. I think when we first got introduced to him in Rising Storm, I didn't like him as much and didn't connect to him as much. I think it took The Fallen Star for me to actually really start to like him. And then this one, I really enjoyed his point of view. He's obviously struggling with everything that's happened, but at the same time, because he was struggling before, almost he's better placed to deal with it now, because he was, struggling with the dark side and things like that, but then had some, I don't know, counselling, really, I guess, from Orla Jarani.
R.I.P. Aura.
Yeah. But he's kind of, dealing with things okay, getting frustrated like everyone else is, but he seems to be doing okay. But also struck me that Stellan really feels like a character still in this book, because so much of what both Avar and Elzar go through, they think about him a lot and what would he do, and he's kind of the one that they both look to inform their actions. Like, this is what Stellan would do, so I'm going to try and do that.
Yeah, no, I think so too. That's a really good point and a really good segue. Yeah, Stellan feels like he's still a part of this book, which is cool because he was, an awesome Jedi. I wish we'd have gotten a little bit more of him in Phase 1, but yeah, Elzar's really struggling with trying to be not someone he's not. I think that if you're a Jedi, I mean, I guess I can't say that. They're not all leaders. I mean, they usually go out on their own and things like that. But he's struggling a lot with guilt. And that's one thing I've noticed about this this whole phase. They built this Jedi temple, and as kids growing up, the Jedi are they're detached from emotions, or detached from people. But it seems like that these three and the other ones, because we're going to talk about Porter and we'll talk about his sister, but their connections with one another seems to help them more than being. I mean, is this why we don't have connections when we come into Star Wars? At A New Hope, and they're teaching during the prequels, they're teaching not to have connections more so than ever, because we see what it does to Anakin, not his emotions, and you see what it's doing to Elzar. I mean, he lashes out in Starlight, in the Fallen Star, and then of course he's struggling. Like you said, he struggled prior to this, but I do think that's a really good point you made, though. He has had some counseling prior to this, from Orla, and he might be in a better place. He doesn't seem like he's doing well because he is struggling. But yeah, I have to agree. I thought he was a funny character because, like, he was kind of like, I mean, he was, sleeping around, kind of. I'm not sleeping around, but he was hooking up with people in that. And obviously, there seems to be something between him and Avar as well. But I thought he was a funny character, but this one really kind of, showed a man struggling. That's another thing. George Mann does like you said, he does such a great job writing all these different characters. It's very difficult, I think, not to, you're just writing a story and there's these characters happening, but each one of them feels so different, and like they're going through their own, struggles. But yeah, I think that, he makes some mistakes and he's going to have to deal with that. I still wonder if he's going to fall personally to the dark side, if or not, because I mean, he's got the stress on him. But I guess Avar is back, so we can get into that. But because I can kind of, I don't know about you, I don't want to jump ahead to the end. Like, some of the things I want to talk about at the end, but I feel like the dark side has something to do. Like, someone's going to have to go to the dark side to stop all this. I think. I don't know. Like, I can't see a way out of it. But I want to talk to you about that at the end. But yeah, I think I put in my notes, Avar and Elzar, man, up to no good. Something's going to spawn from this, something we're not expecting to love for those to have been going to create something to know. What? I mean, I must have done voice to text on this one, but something weird is going on between those two, because,
yeah,
I mean, like you said, when she gets through that storm wall and she can, she feels that connection, and then she's like, I need Elzar, and I feel like that's not just a platonic need. Almost. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into it, but given that, and also what's the why can't I think of her? Lena So, the Chancellor. She got a little thing for Elzar too.
yeah.
This guy's breaking hearts all over the galaxy. So, I don't know what's going to happen there, but
and also, while I think of it, to do with Elzar, there's a moment. He's not in the book very much, but Aslin Rel is there.
Yeah.
Who was in Phase 2 and has been in what was it, one issue of the comics since it's come back, the Shadows of Starlight one, where he's with Yoda, and he was a Jedi that survived a nameless attack back in Phase 2, and has kind of went to the dark side, kind of trying to look for a way to destroy the nameless. And Yoda's kind of contrary to the rest of the council. The council were very much against Yoda working with this guy. But Yoda's like, we need to listen to him because he's learned a lot in the last 150 years or whatever. But there's a moment between him and Elzar Mann in the Jedi Council chambers, where like Azinra was very interested in him. It's like,
Yes.
okay, where's that going to go? And it's not a big
Yeah.
bit in the book, but it's just something that's probably going to, well, I'm sure will come back in some of the other books soon to come.
Yeah, I'm worried for Elzar, but yeah, that's a really good point too. I had to go back up and look. I didn't remember Aslan from the. I went back and I found his character, but I don't remember him because he wasn't in the books. There wasn't much
No,
about
he
him.
wasn't
He
a
just
major
kind of,
character, no.
and I thought I had missed
But
something like major. Had to go back through, but that's why I love the High Republic Initiative. Like, this has been so much fun. Little things like this is planted, and you never even, you're tearing through these books. You don't even give this kid a second thought. And now here he is, a dark side user, coming back, maybe save the day, maybe turn Elzar Mann to, who knows? But just such good writing and good planning. And these people need to be in charge of Lucasfilm, I think.
Yeah, there's other unexpected kind of like connections to Phase 2, because a lot of Phase 2 we were looking what's going to happen, what we're going to learn about the Nameless and where they come from and these kind of things, and the Rowe family kind of thing that's going to carry forward. But there's like unexpected connections in this back to Phase 2, like General Vice, I think her name is, who was a mercenary leader that popped up in the Blade comic book.
Yes.
So she has a connection with Porter Engle, and they're like kind of each other's nemesis, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
And also the EX droids from the Pathfinder crews, like the little droids that go through hyperspace in short jumps when they're setting up communications and things like that. So I was surprised that they came back, and really happy about that, actually. They were cool, and also it's their kind of they take a chip from it that they use to.
Yeah,
that's how Wavar gets back through the storm wall in the end. So we'll see what happens with that, or if they're able to reuse it. I know Markion Rowe says he'll prevent that, but can he? I don't know.
I did enjoy that in this book. Like, I'm hoping there's still some gaps. I still don't know, like with Marta Rowe and Marcion, like there's someone missing in the middle gap there. I feel like I don't feel like she's like almost a grandma, not a mother. But I mean, we'll get into some of that stuff. So. Because like we still really don't know where his hatred of the Jedi stems. Like, it can't just be I just don't like Jedi. Like, I mean, like nothing that's happened so far in the books, other than what I think maybe his grandmother or great grandmother goes through in Phase 2. But that can't carry on, I wouldn't think. Although the Evereni are kind of a hateful group of people, it seems like. But you brought up General Vice, and I thought it was kind of funny because I just finished the Blade comic. It's only 4 series, but I got General Vice, and then I start reading the book. I'm like, oh, she's alive too. And so to have these two characters from way back, and then she's also responsible for Porter's sister, doing the first, was it the Barash Code? So he's got some beef with her. And let's talk about Porter as well, because he has another series coming out called The Broken Blade. There's another comic book series coming out. I'm a little nervous about that because of the way the book ends. With his character. But yeah, I thought his connections, his story, jumping through, different places and being able to escape the scav droids. And I always, like you said, think of them as buzz droids. Just kind of interchangeable names for me, but his ability to recall that stuff, because it's weird, because when you're first introduced to him, he's like a couple 100 years old, 200 years old or something like that. He's a cook, because he's like, I've tried everything, I've done everything, and he's like, oh, he's the Blade of Bardoga and all this stuff, and you're like, yeah, whatever. And now it's all kind of coming back around. So what did you think about Porter's journey in this book? And I guess we'll talk about what you think happened to him at the end.
Yeah, I thought it was a good one. Again, like Ava, he's just trying to survive behind the storm wall. He goes around these places that he's been before when he was part of Pathfinder teams and stuff, I guess, and scavenging finding old EX droids and things like that to try and put one together. And and ends up coming up against his old nemesis, General Vice. But even old, even as a cook, he's still a badass, basically.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He just wrecks a bunch of people several times. And and him and General Vice have a big kind of battle at the end, and he kind of sacrifices himself to fight her so that Ava can get away and try and get back through the storm wall. And at the end, I guess he's kind of missing in action because they do mention that I think somebody's talking to Marky on Row and they say that neither Porter Engle or General Vice's bodies were found.
Yes.
In the wreckage. So is that what Broken Blade's going to be about? I don't know. I guess so.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping. I'm a little nervous, but I mean, it's okay for characters to die too, sacrificing themselves like a noble way for the Jedi to go out. Although he didn't take care of General Vice, though, so that would have been a bummer. It will be a bummer if that's how it ends for him. But I think you're onto something. I don't think he's gone. I do think that 4 runs here. I think it's 4 episodes or 4 comics.
Yeah, probably 4
again,
issues.
Will be maybe wrap up his story. I mean, because he can't be in good shape. But so is there any other character? Markion Rowe. Let's talk about him real quick. Let's talk about him and Jira Staros together, kind of the yin and the yang of the Nihil. Where does Markion or Marchion? Where's he rank for you in bad guys? Because I want to. We don't swear.
I think he might be my favorite villain now. Just he seems to kind of have an answer for everything, but he's not like Palpatine because he doesn't want control of the universe, the whole galaxy kind of thing. But he just wants to cause destruction and stop the Jedi and try and show people what he thinks is the corruption of the Republic, I guess. But he just everything he seems to have well planned. But I did get the feeling during this book that maybe not that he's losing his way, but like everything else that he'd been planning for so long, he's now done and executed. So it's like, what's next for him? And is that where things start to go wrong for him, kind of thing? And the Nihil, like it seems like there's cracks starting to appear a bit more now in the Nihil. Like you mentioned, Jira Staros. I expected her to be in the book, I guess, but just not as much as she was.
She's a big part of it. She's
kind of trying to legitimize the Nihil. She wants a seat in the Senate. And I guess for her, that's what this has been about, that she wanted more power in the Senate, maybe, or, just more power in general, but from a political kind of standpoint. So she's, and you very much get the feeling that she's in she's in peril, that like any time Markion Rowe could just decide that I don't need you anymore and or you're too much trouble.
Yeah, for sure. Like I've kept waiting for him just to like end her with a lightsaber. Like every time they have a conversation when she came back from Coruscant, and but she definitely has her own goals in mind. We don't swear on this show. Obviously, it's a family show, but man, I have some choice words about Markion Rowe, and I think you're right. Though he is, if you think back to it when they first not what scared the Jedi, blah blah blah. I mean, now I get it. This would scare the Jedi. Markion Rowe would scare the Jedi. He has become pure evil. Now I think you're right too. I feel like he's lost his way. I hope that it doesn't end with him. Like I want him to going out with a big old plan. Maybe it gets foiled. But I mean, they've created a character here that I wasn't sure we were going to get. And then I put here in my notes too, is Jira the beginning of the Empire? Like, kind of like, or Markion Rowe, like, this whole idea. I mean, I know it's the Emperor, but and I know Plagueis is not canon, Well, he kind of is canon. This book is not canon, I guess, but Plagueis is canon. Is he running around in the background roughly about this time point? Because he's pretty old. Is he setting things up? Is he using this? Are we going to see him in like the Acolyte or something like that? Because that's going to kind of be the ending of I think the High Republic, like some of these characters. But do you think that Markion or Jira or any of those are they going to have any influence over what's about to happen in Star Wars, like what we know of Star Wars? Prequels.
I don't know. Well, I think certainly the events, everything that goes down in the High Republic is definitely going to influence where the Jedi Council or what the way the Jedi are when we've met them again in the prequels. I think, especially was it in the comics? Was it where they institute the what do they call it? Something Guardian Protocols or something?
Yes,
it's
they brought everybody back.
Down, what like on a war footing kind of thing, and it seems like some of those rules that they introduced are still in place. Maybe when we get to the Phantom Menace and stuff. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see for sure what happens. You'd expect you're going to see, in the Acolyte for sure, something to do with the Sith, and maybe referencing back. Maybe even if they weren't influencing events now, they were probably watching with great interest what's going on. And learning from it. To an extent. So yeah.
Yeah, you would have to think so. Because Plagueis would be around. From where the book talks, how long he was in the background doing things. I think this would be a good place to bring him in, towards the end of this, where he's just kind of sitting there fingers, peaked and just kind of here we go. This is the Sith's opening because, the Jedi have been so focused on the Drengir and the Nihil and the Nameless, and now I can just kind of slip in behind everything and cause all kinds of chaos. But so I'm excited for that. I don't want it to end, but I want it to end because I want to know, what's going to happen to it. But I have. Let me see here. Do you have any? This is one of my last questions for you. Then, do you have any idea how the Jedi are going to stop the Nameless? When you sit there and you see what it's doing to these Jedi Masters, these Grand Masters, do you think the dark side's the key? Do you think a Jedi has to cut themselves off from the Force, like we've seen in different things, like they kind of just block the Force from them? Are they going to be able to fight back? Do you have any predictions, or do you think it's going to be something as simple as the rods of those rods of I can't think of their names right now, but the two rods they bring together that were the whole story of Phase 2? Do you think it's going to be that simple, or do you think it's going to be something a little more intense?
I don't know. I think, definitely. I think the rods will be involved somehow. But obviously, there's quite a few of the Nameless around at the moment now, it seems like. And I can't help but think. Well, there was in Phase 2 in Path of Vengeance. Which Jedi was it? One of the younger ones. I can't remember her name now. But she kind of managed to resist the effects of the Nameless.
No.
But I can't remember what, but she was kind of meditating or trying to focus on something in particular, and she was able to stand up to it a little bit more, not overcome it or anything. But so I think that could come back in some way, for sure. I really don't know. And especially, I don't know if you've seen some of the concept art they released, because there's another character in this book, one of the Nihil leaders, called Baron Bulan, who's he's a scientist.
Ithorian.
He's a Ithorian, yeah. He's a scientist Ithorian, and he's experimenting not only on Jedi but also on the Nameless. And there's some images of there's Nameless with bits of metal on their legs and things. And
I haven't seen that.
I don't know what's going to go on there.
Oh man. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I feel like it's coming to an end, but there's still so much to happen. So much. I know they do a lot of stuff with comics, and they'll do stuff with the young readers, and I'm not sure with the audiobooks and things like that. But yeah, I thought overall, and we didn't even get into talking to Buryaga and why can't I think of his name? Bell. they had a weird journey. I thought. I think they were just kind of like side characters in this the whole time. It was good to have them back.
Yeah,
the
that was one of my few criticisms was not enough Bell.
Yes, yeah, I felt the same way. Not enough Bell. Mentioning Reith Silas, and then of course we didn't get the like. One of my things was I was kind of disappointed that the characters from Lydia Kang's story, from Tales of Light and Life, was its Master Miralox and his Padawan Amadeo Azazo. Like they kind of mention them, but we never hear them. So I'm assuming they're getting their own book, or
they'll pop up somewhere. But
yeah, because like people have mentioned that there's new Jedi coming, and I know you have the encyclopedia. Mine comes on Tuesday, so I'm excited to dive into that. But yeah, what would you like? So, like you said, thumbs up for the start. Are you excited for where this book, where the story is going to go, and how it's going to?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a great start to Phase 3. Sets up where everybody is and kind of how dire the situation still is. And I'm just, excited and interested to see where it goes from here, really.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm totally in agreement. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about this book, but I couldn't put it down. Like, I kept reading it and taking big chunks of it. I mean, I may or may not have taken a day off work to read a bunch of it. I was like, I gotta get through this book. And I, when they pull you in like that, I felt like I got a couple of those in Phase 2, and a lot of the books in Phase 1 kind of pull you in. But yeah, this one really kind of captivated and pulled me in and made me hate Marcion Rowe more, which is what we want. You want to hate your bad guys. Has lots of questions. So yeah, I can't wait. One of my biggest complaints about the Phase 1 and 2 were the books came out so fast. And now it's like, I gotta wait till January.
Now they're spread out.
No.
Give them to me faster.
We are never happy, are we? So, all right, Johnny, you have anything else you want to say about George Mann's The Eye of Darkness or the start of Phase 3?
I don't think so, no. I think that about covers it all.
All right. Let everybody know where they can find you, Johnny, on social medias.
At Starbirdfiles on Instagram and also Facebook. But if you go to my Instagram, then you'll find links in my bio to the blog and Facebook page and anything like that, really.
Yeah,
mainly Instagram.
All right. Yeah, I would suggest if you're listening to this and you're like, man, what is this High Republic? These guys love it, and you'll hear it in all of our talks about the High Republic. The three of us, Taylor's usually with us. She's catching up to us. If you want quick recaps and really good details, go to Johnny's Starbirdfiles and read his recaps. He'll get you up to speed, and you can hop up and you can know what's going on. So, Johnny, thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate you giving the time. You're a busy man and highly sought after on the for High Republic and everything else. But do you have a quote for us on our way out?
We are all the Nihil.
We are all
at this moment in time.
Oh no! At that moment, yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, thank you, explorers, as always, for listening. We hope you all have a great Christmas as always. Please leave us loads of comments on the socials. Catch us at Explore the Force on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and also Instagram. Let us know, and also let your loved ones know, or friends as well, what Christmas ideas and gifts that you'd like for Christmas. And as always, from Taylor,
for light and life.
And for myself, I've learned from Palpatine. I'll show you the stone in my hand. You'll miss the knife at your throat.
There we go. And for all of us, we have spoken.
Thanks, guys. Merry Christmas.